Welcome to State of Ed. My name is Marc and I'm here with educator and author and speaker Alana Winnick here at the Sagamore Resort in Lake George. I was going to joke and say that this is my lake house, Alana, but
it's a great view. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, nobody's going to believe that for a second. So thanks so much for spending a few minutes. I know you've had a busy day presenting and you're presenting again tomorrow, but you are an educational technology guru working in schools right now, and you have so many insights about edtech, and edtech is really like where it's at right now, and certainly AI is at the forefront of just about every conversation involving education right now. So can you kind of give us your take on where are we in this inflection point with AI, and what are some of the pros and what are some of the things that we need to be a little bit concerned about educationally?
Yeah, I think so. For me, what AI represents is a catalyst for a much needed change. I've always believed that education needed to change, but in a world where AI can do your work for you in 3 seconds, literally, then we really need to take a step back and rethink what I say, the what, the why, and the how, what we're asking our students to do, why we're asking them to do, and how we're assessing them. And then AI becomes a tool to help us get there, but it's not the thing. In fact, I really very rarely have professional development specifically only around AI. It's using AI as a tool into another initiative like PBIS or any other thing that we're doing in our district. And I don't really love, and you're going to talk about the cons, like obviously not everything AI says is true. So I think that we need to very explicitly teach students how to use AI. We think that they know everything about technology. That's a misconception. They don't. And so we have very, very explicit lessons. And I say that every AI user, adult student, needs to be a detective on the lookout for bias and misinformation, both equally important, and a detective and a DJ and remix their content with their own thoughts, their own ideas, and their own voice. And we have very direct, explicit lessons as young as like first, second grade. And I have an AI junior club that's for third and fourth graders, and they really learn all of these things. But, learning that it's not always true. Just like media literacy, now it's AI literacy. So AI literacy is incredibly important. It's okay to pull out a book and read when you're busy instead of putting them busy work on the computer. And then the whole big cheating thing, right?
Yes. So, can we talk about this? Because I know there are a lot of educators out there. As a matter of fact, I got into a whole exchange with someone on TikTok, which probably was ill-advised on my part, kind of arguing with the internet, which is like going into a bar at 3:00 in the morning, finding the drunkest person and getting into a political argument. But, and they were basically just screaming, saying, I'm going to pencil and paper, and that's how I'm solving the AI problem. And so you just rolled your eyes, and I rolled my eyes behind my thumbs on this, on my phone. Why you're so revolted by that response?
I just think if you are scared that your students are cheating, then you need to take a step back and say, if I'm going to assume my students would use AI, then how would I change the assignment? And then it's not cheating anymore, and it's a tool to get you there. So I just think that teachers need to rethink what they're asking their students to do. And just like we used to say, if a question was Googleable, it's not a good question. If the assignment's AIable, it most likely, not in all cases, is a good assignment.
Now, I totally agree with you on the Google part. Like we worked very diligently on trying to come up with assignments that were Google proof to the best of our ability. AI, though, is Google on like massive amounts of steroids, only because it really does, I'll use the term loosely, thinking, because it's a large language model and it's really not thinking. We know that, but like it feels like it's thinking. And it's able to sort of create and produce things unlike a traditional Google search was able to kind of accomplish for a student who was just looking to get some information quickly. The moonshot of trying to come up with assignments that are AI proof, I think, is going to prove a lot more difficult than coming up with Google.
I don't think so.
Okay. Why do you feel differently?
I don't think so, because there's a lot of examples of ways that we can do it, like a Socratic seminar. Could they use an AI as a tool to help them prepare? Yes, but you have to be prepared when you show up. You can't get around it, right? So if AI becomes a tool to help you learn, it's just rethinking the assessment, right? Like, and in my presentation I just gave, I have this one student who was going through an incredibly challenging time at home and would never do his work. But when I told him that we were going to be a DJ and remix the AI content, he lit up because he's like, I'm a DJ. And he actually is a DJ. And he pulled up pictures of a mixing board and taught his class how to be a DJ. And then I had him present in front of adults at our regional tech conference. And he very confidently talked about plagiarism and academic integrity around AI use. If I would have given him a pen and paper and told him to handwrite it, or I gave him a word processor and told me to write a paragraph on plagiarism or academic integrity,
Probably
he wouldn't have done it.
Right.
He wouldn't have done it. But when you rethink the assessment and you're assessing it in a different way, then it's AI proof. So it just tweaking, I say what we're asking them to do, why we're asking them to do it, and how we're assessing them.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think when you look at his end product, he gets an A.
Right.
But if you looked at a traditional end product, he wouldn't. So
because he wouldn't have handed it in.
He just wouldn't have done it.
Right. One of the things that you mentioned in your session, which I was lucky enough to attend, is something that I've been espousing for a while as well, which is changing the emphasis or shifting the emphasis away from the product and towards the process.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit and why you feel so strongly about that?
I think that if you're only assessing the end product, and again, AI can do your work for you in 3 seconds. The kid can take your assignment. It could take the description. It could take the rubric. They could put all those things into AI and say, do this assignment for me. And if you're not sure if your assignment is AI proof, just do that and see what comes out, honestly. But if you're getting it at the end, how would you even know the kid did that? Period. You probably don't. But if you're assessing that learning process, then you're assessing their learning. And my cousin is an insanely intelligent young man. And I know for a fact from talking to him candidly, he wasn't learning. He's just the A student that's going to consistently give you the best essay that's going to be the exemplar every time, even if you just give him a pen and paper. But he's not growing as a writer. No one's pushing his thinking. No one's challenging him. His writing's not actually growing.
They're just content that he's super smart and
that's it.
He kind of gets left be. So how do you take a student like that, right? Because students like that are, I like to consider them special needs students just as every bit as much as students who have other kinds of difficulties with learning. And so how do you take a student like that and use the technology to take them from point A to point B?
I think that when a teacher uses AI to give feedback, I actually don't like that because I would rather have that student run their own work through AI, get feedback, and pick and choose what feedback resonates with them and write a reflection of why they accepted that feedback or why they didn't accept that feedback. Because the skill that they're going to need when they're our age, because we use AI, is how to pick and choose what feedback you want to take, right? Like you probably run your own things through AI.
Of course.
And you probably like have that as like, no. And the other half, you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. They need to learn that. So I would rather him use AI to help bring him to the next level and write a reflection of how AI helped him get there.
So let's talk about this for a second, because I love what you're saying, but I'm also trying to think about and be empathetic for the other side, which is I'm able to run it through that filter because, or in part at least, because I didn't have it for my whole life. Right. So I had to learn those skills. So now when I'm getting the answers to my prompts on AI, I can put it through the filter that's already been developed because I've developed the skills over the course of a very long period of time. So
explicitly have these lessons. And I'm serious, like 3rd grade for me, yes, we do it younger, but 3rd grade, this is a very big lesson that we start in 3rd grade. They are taking their work, copying it, pasting it into we use school AI, a very customized AI chatbot for that specific assignment. And the kids love this one. They call it line by line, and it goes line by line and gives them feedback. And they love it. And then they pick which feedback they want and they write why they picked it. I mean, that is a lesson that we do over and over and over.
You're basically now describing, in a sense, the shift that we're all experiencing in AI from generative to agentic AI, which is really like creating bots to do these kinds of processes with either little or perhaps even no human intervention. Are you basically training the bots? Like, who's training the bots to work and provide the feedback for the students?
You know, that's hard because I have some teachers who are super tech savvy and some teachers who are not. And what I do like a lot about School AI, they have this new beta version that you can enable. It's available right now, just beta 2.0 at the top right. And for my teachers that don't know how to train a model, because first of all, they don't want a prompt. And now you're talking, I have to train.
Right.
This is like
right.
way
Right.
too much for me.
Right.
It actually is a chatbot that talks them through and helps them create their own custom GPT, but they don't know because it's conversational. What are you trying to create a space on? Tell me about the unit. And it asks them guiding questions like, do you have any parameters? And they might not know what parameters are. So it gives them 5 examples. Do you want all of these? Do you want some of these? Or are there other ones you have in mind? Do you have an assignment you want to upload? And it's a very conversational way of doing it.
And it's holding their hands.
They could do speech to text and text to speech. They can actually talk to it as if it's like a co-teacher, and it helps them build this customized space that I know that those teachers never would have been able to do. Like never. So there are tools out there, and right now School AI is great. And I tell them to their face, like Google has Gems right now, right? Microsoft is gonna have it built in. Google's going to have it built in. And we're probably not going to have the Magic Schools, the School AIs, and the Conmigos. They're probably not. They're going to get bought up. They're going to be
up, right?
And they're going to be embedded right into Google and right into Microsoft or whatever else you're doing. But for right now, it's a separate thing. But the skills are transferable. But with Gems in Google, you can't see the student's transcript. And I think that that's the most powerful piece for me, is to be able to see the students thinking and what types of questions they were asking. What else is really cool about School AI's new beta thing, and I'm not even paid by them about this. But the new beta one is it asks you if you want to get to like certain assessment questions or comprehension questions. So there's like 5 or 10 things that you're trying to get out of those students, vocabulary words, whatever it is. It will make sure that student hits that question. And then it gives you a dashboard for each student and each question.
And you can track progress.
And very clearly you see like red, yellow, green, and it will tell you which kids you need to pull for each target. So then the next day you could be like, oh, these 5 come from the back table. Like that's, it's
magic.
You would never be able to get around to every kid every day, right?
Never.
For every assignment.
Never.
So I do think it is a game changer.
So then how do you get the masses on board? Because we all know that there are early adopters who will run into the fire as soon as you yell fire, but they're in limited supply. And the system, in order to really shift the culture, you really need to go deeper than just the early adopters. So as a district leader and trying to help support the inclusion and infusion of AI into your district and into instructional practices, how do you support all the levels of people, from the let me at that bot to train it to I would rather set fire to the computer?
I've learned a long time ago, obviously, that you can never start from the top down. That does not work, right? I don't ever want to hold someone back. So my innovators, I will let them fly, because I'm not going to hold them back. If we hold them back, they're going to leave and they're going to go somewhere else. You obviously don't want there to be such, there's the E's, equality, equity. We can use them each one in a different way. I mean, my goal is for equity, every student to get what they need. And you talked about learning differences, right? And I think AI really levels that playing field of a very large population of E&L students. It removes the barrier for entry. They're able to engage in the content in their native language without focusing on that translation. My students that need extra support, AI can make it easier for them to understand or read it aloud or whatever it might be. So I think it really does level that playing field. I wrote a book almost over 2 years ago, and I've been speaking around the country about it, but to my own staff, I just like everyone else to be a leader and to give them a voice and empower them, because I think if we're all learning together, then it builds community. And I think that the most untapped market of support is the students. And a lot of times we forget that they're so capable. And I have students as young as 4th grade and actually 3rd grade. I start them in 3rd, but we're in the beginning of the year. So I don't have any 3rd graders yet. But by the end of the year, I'll have 3rd graders. But right now, because it's beginning of the year, 4th and up, they opened up for our superintendent's conference day, and I had all different students that have different learning abilities. And I had them stand up confidently and inspire the teachers who were forced to sit there and listen. I have a kid who just, I mentioned, graduated out of our E&L program, talk about how AI supports English language learners. We have students talk about how it helps students with different learning differences, whether it's dyslexia or things like that. And when you are hearing a child say, I have a learning difference and this is how it helps me, and now you have that kid in your class, how are you not going to give that child what they need to be successful?
Right.
When you know that they know what they need. So it forces you to step up a little bit. So if you're listening out there and you're a leader, I would pull your students and I would have them advocate, because you can't deny it. Like when you hear them speak like that, there's no turning away.
So let's talk about that school administrator who, and again, let's create a little bit of empathy for that person. They have every pressure under the sun from their community, from their school board, from their superintendent, from the state standards, expectations, and so on. And they are already at maximum capacity. So what's the one thing that you get them, you used to get them started?
Shouldn't be a separate initiative. That's where everyone's going wrong.
Okay, so
let's say I had a very big PBIS initiative. Right now, it's very, very big. So there's a faculty meeting about PBIS, and it's about community building activities for homeroom. Everyone, no matter what grade, needs to do a community building activity. Okay. You think a teacher can create 180 unique days of examples? No. So there's a 5-minute tech integration to use AI to come up with 5 community building activities that you're going to use next week. And I do Mad Lib style prompts, because the ones that don't know how to prompt, you just have to do fill in the blank, like a Mad Lib. Copy and paste, fill it in with your grade level, your content area, whatever it is. And then you walk out with something you can use the very next day. And now when you're like, oh, that was awesome, I'm going to use it tomorrow, and now I'm going to keep going. So you have to just embed it into your existing initiatives. And I like to put training wheels on it, so it's seamless.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because what you just presented was a very concrete example. It's a tiny step. It's not a leap. It's not. But then you keep a moonshot
doing that. And I whenever we have our administrative meetings, and let's say we just had a superintendent's conference day last week, another big initiative is Portrait of a Graduate. Okay, like I said, they're like, Alana, do you have anything you want to do? Obviously, I want to do AI, but I don't want it to be a separate AI thing. So where can we put it in? Portrait of a Graduate. We'll put a little AI hands-on activity into that lesson.
So what did that look like, just out of curiosity? Because I also work in New York State, and New York State is putting a lot of time and energy and effort and money into Portrait of a Graduate. So what did you suggest?
I mean, I think we could just take existing lessons and rethink assessment. And so I built a custom chatbot where they could take something they already do and talk to a chatbot that I designed that will help them turn the traditional assignment into more of a Portrait of a Graduate style assignment. And then they're just using it. You just want them to use it. You just want it in their hands as much as possible.
So where are you learning how to do all of these things?
Me?
Where are you going for ideas?
I just do. I don't know. I've always been, it's interesting because I look back on my life. I just stayed with my college roommate last night up here, because I don't live up here. And I never knew that I was a tech person, but I think I always was. I just think I always was. I don't.
But this is on a different level, right? I mean, there's so much new.
Okay, so I think I'm just someone. A lot of people are like, oh, that's so scary, I don't know, teach me. I'm just like, oh, let me try. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Nothing bad's going to happen.
You can't break the internet? Is that what you're saying?
No, so I just try. Try it.
But in terms of AI, how did you learn how to program?
There was no instructions when this came out. Do you understand that? There was no instruction. Right. I just tried. But there are places, if you're not like me, this website,
right, let's assume that not everybody's like you.
YouTube. There's a thing called YouTube, in case you didn't hear of it.
I'll have to Google it and find out what it is.
Yeah, but also, no, I'm just kidding. There's so many certification courses out there. For example, and I mentioned before, School AI, they have certification 1 and 2, and it walks you through videos and hands-on activities, and it's transferable not just to their model, to other ones. OpenAI, ChatGPT, has an educator course too. Google has a course too for educators. Microsoft has a course for educators in their education space. So Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, School AI, and whatever other, they have whole
Courses, right?
training courses built in. So whatever your platform is, I would say just go there and start with what they have and then just play. I always tell my students there's no such thing as failure. It stands for first attempt in learning. And if you failed, what did you learn from that? And how are you going to grow? So I just think try.
What do you say to the folks who have a very pessimistic outlook on life in terms of
Then maybe you should retire. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm
no, they're
just
not ready to
teasing.
retire yet.
I'm just teasing.
No, their concern is not whether or not they're going to retire. The concern is being forced out of a job
No, I don't
because of
think
like
they
schools
should.
like the Alpha School, which is already starting to kind of get its feet wet into
I
AI
think
driven
that the
learning.
role of a teacher is going to shift. And I think if we do it the right way, it's going to be the most positive thing ever because it's a job we always wanted to do. And the reason we came into this field was to spend more time directly with students. So your job will change. But if you embrace it, then your job will change to be the job you've always dreamed of having.
I love that. So, where can the people who are watching and listening to this find you and have access to your brain and how you see learning and the infusion of instructional technology?
I'm on all social media platforms at Alana Winnick. I have alanawinnick.com with all my resources. My book and my podcast are both The Generative Age, so you could check those out. And I also have an organization called Students for Innovation. And like I mentioned before, have an army. Oh, I don't know if I told this. I have an army of children that help me advocate for change, teach professional development. I just had them present at New York State School Boards. They had their own booth. They crushed it. And they believe that all schools should have an innovation club. And so we created an organization to support schools. We have students as far as India, and we hosted a virtual summit. So if you go to studentsforinnovation.org, you can watch all the recorded sessions and you can start your own innovation club. And if you don't have support, like I don't have support because I don't have a STEM teacher or a tech integrator, you have an army of children. They are free labor and they're more than happy to advocate for their own change and build an army with you. I definitely think you should take advantage of your students. And I have ones as young as fourth grade, so you could do it too.
Thank you, Alana, for all of your insights and for sharing everything with us today. And thank you so much for joining us.